there always seems to be limits. Limits on time, money, abilities. But what if there were none? What if you could do anything, make anything, dream big, go far? What would you be doing differently today if you had nothing holding you back? This is Luke, and I'm Lori. And now that we've completely ripped apart our steel sailboat, we're gonna have to make it come back to life. So let's get to designing. Now, that's not to say that we didn't have anything holding us back. Time, money, and help was all in short supply, but we started this project specifically to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. We wanted to learn everything about sailing. We wanted to see, touch, and feel, and understand every aspect of our sailboat. And that gave us the greatest opportunity to redesign our own boat. We put aside all the things that were holding us back. And this was a very scary experience, but we wanted to be free to reimagine this boat and how we wanted it to look and work on the open sea. Designing the LAHAKAI as a whole was an overwhelming experience, so we broke it down into sections: upper deck, davits and cockpit, bowsprit and anchor locker, and the hard dodger. And we also needed to test the LAHAKAI in the water. We did a ton of research on boat design and usability. We looked at thousands of photos to see what we liked, and then we set to work executing these ideas on our boat. You see, despite appearing to be simple when floating on the water, sailboats are actually complex machines with an infinite amount of moving parts. So we were here to learn more. When we purchased the boat, we knew we would probably replace the side windows on the main cabin, and we intended to repair the upper deck by patching areas that appeared to have rust. However, after we removed all of the wood panels on the interior and the accessories like stoppers and cleats that were attached to the upper deck, we realized that the plates were littered with holes. Also, the windows looked brutally assaulted by a rogue drill bit. The damage was too extensive to try to repair in small patches and would be much easier to just replace it all. Do you remember this from episode 1? We figured since we were going this far, we might as well raise the roof. The original headspace in the cabin was 173 centimeters, and since Luke is rather tall, we decided to raise it up. This makes the headspace 182 centimeters forward at the bow and 195 centimeters near the cockpit. To do this, we cut out the original top deck, including the frames. We remeasured the angle of the windows, and continuing the frames from the main deck, we created our structure. Then, we laid the steel plates on top. Keep in mind, we didn't have any cranes or forklifts. This was all good old-fashioned manual labor. If you want to help us create more videos like this one and one day see the LAHAKAI sailing, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and let us know what you think about our project in the comments. We'd love to hear your feedback on all our work so far. We changed the format of the forward windows on the main cabin. Instead of a flat, angular surface, we divide it into 3 panels to give it a more dynamic curve. Then we started cutting the shape of the windows out while also treating the surface of the steel. We decided to move the hatch that was on the slope of the upper deck to the main deck. And we continued cutting the windows along the side of the cabin, maintaining the same height all the way to before the cockpit. And then it arrived, the moment we had to put our work to the test. Before we closed the cockpit, we needed to do the water test of the rebuilt hull. There is a liquid that you can purchase that can test welds to see if they are compromised, but since we have changed so much, it would be easier just to put her in the water. It was an absolutely beautiful day to see if the LAHAKAI floats. And float she did. We spent the next several hours monitoring and inspecting the hull to see if there were any leaks. For a job this size, it would be a miracle if there wasn't. Lucky we only had 2 small repairs needed before she would be perfect. We marked the locations so that we could sand and repair them later. A huge weight was lifted off our shoulders and we moved forward with our project, excited about all the things we had accomplished and looking forward to everything that was in store for us next. So let's start with the davits. We wanted to create something that was simplified and strong. After all, we're going to be putting them to work. We folded and welded 2 4mm steel plates together to create a large hollow bar. Putting them into place was a large challenge to get them at the right angle and weld them perfectly. They will be supporting not only the dinghy, but also our solar panels and wind turbine. This design was inspired by the strong sailboats that you see traveling to polar regions. We then created the extension arm that will hold the dinghy, but we will be finalizing them later in the project. Now let's get to the main event. The original cockpit didn't maximize the space, so the first thing we did was restructure it. But first, we want to take a moment to give a huge thanks to our patrons for being the first ones to believe in our project. Your support is truly motivating and we are more than grateful. Now getting back to the cockpit, we elevated the aft deck as high as possible to create storage space below not only the deck but the seating area as well. Then we started measuring and cutting the steel plates to form the cockpit itself. This is our current condition of the project, right? So above here, we're gonna level it out and we're gonna have at least 2 by 2 meters. Also here is gonna be closed and it's actually going to extend even further for what's called a dodger. So it's gonna have like a little house on top of this. This is all open area here, that's the cockpit. So yeah. That's what it looks like. Piece by piece, our vision was becoming a reality. This puzzle was starting to reveal a picture of endless possibilities, and the boat was taking shape. Every day we'd arrive with new ideas on how to tackle designing something from absolutely nothing. Our ideas were becoming solid steel right before our eyes. We loved creating solutions for maximizing every inch on the boat, including this opening in the cockpit. So we created a template out of cardboard, and then we constructed these built-in boxes that fit perfectly in the space. They make great line lockers, ideal for throwing rope or gear while sailing, keeping the deck free and safe for moving around. They even have discreet drainage holes in case water enters. And they turned out to be one of our favorite parts of the cockpit design. Finally, we finished by closing up the cockpit floor, which was a transformative moment. For so long, there was nowhere to stand in the boat, and for the first time in months, it was starting to look like a real sailboat. For the companionway hatch, we really enjoyed the single-door design for quick access and potentially watertight closure. We started the framework of the companionway, but the actual hatch will be constructed later on. For now, we're just finishing up the structural components. These small milestones have redefined what we thought our limits were. How much of these limits are creations of your own mind? How much of them are obstacles that you create for yourself? And what fears are stopping you from reaching out and touching your dreams? There's so much more to come, so join us next Sunday for the rest of our build. We will be constructing the bowsprit, the anchor locker, the hard dodger, and more.